Ladies and gentlemen, this is a story that came out in the Cape Gazette, dated January 2nd, 2018. Government solutions to opioid plague aren't working. You know, I think they have tried many things, but nothing is working because of this. Oh, it's a public health issue, it's not a crime. Well, that might be your theory, but apparently it's not working. All right, this is Dr. Andrew Kalani. I believe that's how it's pronounced, co-director of opioid policy research, said the total US overdose deaths in 2016 were an astonishing 64,000 people, of which more than 45,000 were from opioids. Total deaths in Delaware were 308 in 2016, up 35% from 228 in 2015. About 11,000 are said to suffer from opioid addiction in the state, which will get worse over the next 3 to 5 years. But missing from the discussion are any tough solutions to stop the perpetrators of the plague. It remains It reminds me of an old column I saved by journalist Jonathan Power, who reported that Mao Zedong kept China opium free for 40 years, though a mixture of carrot and stick. Addicts were not condemned, but offered medical help and rehabilitation. Those who were uncooperative were sent to labor camps or in prison. They were put to death. Dealers were executed, and this is actually something they did in China. They either got off of the drug or they put their butts to death. They weren't playing around there, at all. His hardline policy was perhaps a delayed reaction to the opium traders in the 19th century China, when fortunes were amassed by the British and Americans, like FDR's grandfather, Warren Delano. Since our sensibilities prevent us from adopting Mao's approach, and we haven't yet accepted the benefits of managed legalization to eliminate black market profits and violence, we are left with the middle ground of half measures in dealing with addiction and death, while fortunes continue to be made. A look back at the 2015 Annual Review of Public Health reveals that in 1996, the rate of opioid use began accelerating rapidly. This acceleration was fueled in large part by the introduction in 1995 of OxyContin, manufactured by Purdue Pharma. Between 1996 and 2002, Purdue Pharma funded more than 20,000 pain-related educational programs and launched a multifaceted campaign to encourage long-term use of opioid pain relievers. For chronic non-cancer pain, physician spokespersons for opioid manufacturers cited studies with serious, so they saw flaws in the OxyContin even back then, and they saw it was addictive at that particular time. All right. But when they were selling and marketing that drug to the public, they said it was non-addictive, or not that many people were addicted to it. That's how they sold it. But in my opinion, they were still stupid because it was already a history of opium use in America And there was addiction back in the 18 and 1900s. So how did you not know this wasn't going to be addictive? I don't know. Kind of stupid. But in fact, there were no studies to substantiate this claim, according to Arthur Sam Quinones in his eye opening book, Dreamland, about the opioid plague. He says it was a one paragraph letter to the editor and not a scientific study that became a landmark report in journals and magazines and was marketed aggressively with great success. Moreover, according to Dr. Kolodny, there hasn't been any real crackdown on the massive overprescribing of opioids, nor apparently by the DEA interdiction of the doctor overprescribers of legal opioids. The Cape Gazette reported in April 2016 that the DEA has been cracking down for more than a decade, but since 2009, only 19 DEA registrations have been revoked. None included criminal investigations for illegal drug sales. Then, when prescription opioid pills becomes tougher to obtain and too expensive, heroin is the go-to drug because it's cheaper and more readily available. OxyContin, in effect, has um, created a vast new markets for heroin among middle and upper class whites. And instead of pharmaceutical sales reps pushing opium tablets, illegal Mexican drug traffickers feeding a growing base of customers addicted to OxyContin with heroin. They use methadone clinics as footholds, giving free samples to the addicts like Purdue Pharma sales reps to doctors. They can gross 15,000 per day, 1/10 of a gram at a time. But these cells are just one cog of the gears of the massive Mexican drug revenue machine that investigator author Robert Saviano says grosses 25 billion to 50 billion a year. Man, these illegal drugs ain't going nowhere. If drug traffickers are making that amount of money, these drug cartels, there ain't no way these illegal drugs are going anywhere. 25 billion to 50 billion a year for drugs pouring across the border from Mexico? It's not going nowhere. This drug plague is here to stay, y'all. On the legal side, Purdue 2017 earnings are reported at 35 billion. In 2017, Purdue Pharma did plead guilty in federal court to criminal charges of misleading the public about OxyContin addiction risk and paid 634 million in fines. And though the top 3 executives paid heavy fines, they did no jail time and only 400 hours of community service. So for lying to the public and causing a record-breaking plague in America, they got no jail time and only 400 hours of community service for poisoning the people in America. Woo, this place really sucks. Okay, so they gonna cause all this damage out in public with the oxycodone, the hydrocodone, the OxyContin, the Percocet, the Vicodin. All that stuff is addictive. And the worst thing they got was a heavy fine, no jail time, and 400 hours of community service. And how many thousands, hundreds of thousands have died by now? Ooh, only in America. Only in America. You kill one person and they put you in jail for life. These people have killed thousands. they they are responsible for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of deaths. No jail time, 400 hours of community service. This plague ain't going nowhere, y'all. The Center for Disease Control estimate that the total economic burden of prescription opioid misuse alone in the United States is 78 billion a year, including the cost of healthcare, lost productivity, addiction treatment, and criminal justice involvement, which doesn't seem to be very much. So as the numbers make clear, the illegal and legal opium suppliers have profited immensely as the addicted suffer and die. Meanwhile, taxpayers pay enormous sums to mop up. As for government solutions, at least mouths worked. Yeah, you're right. China, they gave them an option: dry up or die. And you're not going to do that with these folks because they have privilege and you just don't want to do that to them. Please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe, and don't forget to hit on that notification bell. Peace, family.